It's Friday. It's time for another Truck News Recap. Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus, SUV Talk, new to the channel. Welcome. On Fridays, I do a recap of some news items and things and tell you some stuff behind the scenes that you may have missed. I'm in the truck world as a journalist covering stuff all the time. I see a lot of things that you may not see as well. So in this week's Truck News Recap, we have Ford reversing course on EVs. They're going to stop selling a couple of them, and they're going to save millions, if not billions. We have SEMA is suing California over an EV mandate, saying, nah, hold on, not so fast on that deal. And then I want to talk about cooled steering wheels. Yeah, brought this up in a video short this week. Got a lot of attention, and we have some more details for you. So let's go ahead and go to the website, pickuptrucktalk.com. And before I get over there, you may notice this is coming out rather late on a Friday night if you're a fan of the channel. Sorry, I took a road trip today with my friends up to South Dakota in a new Land Cruiser. And I have to say, I'm surprised at how small the gas tank is. More to come on that. Video going live probably next week after. So on pickuptrucktalk.com, we have some details for you. We have some recalls that happened. We have Ram Heavy Duty, got some new colors, new additions. And then we have the Ford EV strategy has changed. They were going to build a large 3-row SUV. That was going to happen in Canada. That got pushed back when they built more Super Duties up there. And now it's been killed completely. Gone. Later. And they were going to build next generation of an EV truck that's been pushed back by a year. So the news comes from when Ford announced some changes through a financial call with analysts. They said they're going to result in $1.9 billion in costs, including a $400 million non-cash charge related to the cancellation of the crossovers, which are previously scheduled for the release after 2025. That's a 3-row SUV. This is in addition to the $2.5 billion the company said it lost so far in 2024 in its EV business only. If you know, remember, some videos of Ford, if you know, Ford split their business into 3 different segments. They have Ford Commercial, Ford EV, and like Ford Consumer. And they announced the results from those individual divisions separately. It's really useful, actually. So instead of the planned electric crossovers, Ford will develop a range of hybrid 3-row crossovers. So they're going full EV. They're like, you know what? Hold on a minute. People aren't buying full 3-row EVs. They're buying hybrids. That's where the market is. They're finally reversing course, which is great. It's, as a journalist, I've been on the front lines of this for last 8-9 years. It's been really coming out. And we've said, hey, let's not go full EV all the way. Let's understand that we're going to do things in steps. So I thought from a full V8, let's try to get people into a hybrid if that's where you want to go and offer some choices. Don't get rid of the V8. Offer choices. And let's go from a hybrid to like a plug-in hybrid to an EV, right? Or hybrid. People always make fun of how I say hybrid. But what we're saying is, we're trying to change the course on people who are driving. If that's your eternal goal to go full EV, you can't just force somebody to go from a V8 to a full EV because EVs currently just don't work that way. It's a change in lifestyle, a change in how you drive. Too many changes, too fast. So this is nice to see. We're going to see some more of this in this week's Truck News Recap. I have some more details for you in this. But they've also talked about some differences that's going to happen with Ford. And so we talked about the savings they're going to do, the write-downs and stuff. But they had said that the changes was influenced by evolving market conditions, competition, and customer needs, as well as considerations related to battery size and cost. He noted, this is one of the big problems EVs right now. He noted that the company could not produce a profitable vehicle within the first year of launch, given these factors. EVs are really expensive. They're expensive to build. They're expensive to buy. People aren't buying them at that price point. Depreciation is a big issue with EVs as well. So what they're saying is, look, if we can't make money in this vehicle in the first year, why build it? Wow. That sounds fairly smart. Why wasn't that part of the conversation when all this stuff was happening a couple years ago? And so they're going to do more couple expenses. They're going to keep the plant kept in the, is it Tennessee? I think in the Tennessee-Kentucky border. And then they're talking about the next generation of full-size electric pickup, nicknamed T3, is now scheduled to be late 2027. And the idea there is they're hoping to leverage lower-cost battery technology by then and other cost efficiencies. So, yeah, the Blue Oval City in Tennessee. So it's still on track to build that plant. And there's also plans that they plan to introduce a next-generation commercial van at Ohio Assembly in 2020. So, or 2026, excuse me. 2020 would have been a couple years ago. So some changes happening in Ford, making things, I think, smart decisions. Also, I think a smart decision. SEMA has filed a federal amicus brief for a lawsuit to stop California's ICE vehicle ban. this is gonna be interesting. So if you remember, let's see, it was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I interviewed SEMA's Kathleen Bailey Chapman, and she was part of the senior. Yeah, she has some long title. I can't remember the long title, but she was involved in this stuff. And her and I were talking about how California had mandated EVs were going to take over. Remember the projections by 2035 is going to be all EVs. That was against what SEMA wants because a lot of SEMA members have internal combustion engine operations. They do aftermarket parts for those engines. So going EV only, detrimental to business. There's also a question with Chevron that got repealed whether the EPA has the power to say, and the federal government's got the power to say, we're going to choose technology. We're going to choose the technology you're going to use moving forward. And SEMA's saying, you know what? Not so fast. So the amicus brief for the California ICE vehicle ban in this article by SEMA from SEMA.org, it's their press release. So SEMA, the brief says SEMA and the PRA, which Performance Racing Institute, last week filed with the Supreme Court of the United States amicus brief in the case of Diamond Alternative Energy, LLC, versus the EPA. The brief outlines SEMA's support for a review of the lawfulness of EPA's decision to grant California the authority to limit the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles. Using the EPA waiver, California, and by extension, the 16 states that have signed on to the CARB Air Force, which is the California Air Resource Board, that opted into California regulations, seeks to adopt advanced clean air 2 regulations that would limit the sale of ICE vehicles from model years 2017 through 2025, culminating with a complete ban of the sale of ICE vehicles by 2035. In requesting the court grant review of the case, SEMA argues that California's non-technology neutral decision to limit the sale of ICE vehicles will have devastating impact on the automotive aftermarket industry, which is basically their constituents, effectively killing rather than fostering innovation that can produce cleaner, safer automobiles. Now, that's really interesting, that statement that SEMA said, because I, for numerous years, have argued with my EV advocate colleagues who say, oh, there's no EV mandate. What are you guys talking about? There's no EV mandate out there at all. It's not a big deal. Whatever. No, there is an EV mandate. And the EV mandate, the problem with EV mandate is not just that EVs are good or bad. They work in some areas, they don't work in other areas, whatever. It's that you are taking away consumer choice and you're forcing them into one vehicle. Now, whenever you limit consumer choice, it turns out to be probably a bad thing. And this is what SEMA is saying. They're saying that the EPA that had expanded their authority through Chevron deference didn't have the authority. It's not in the Clean Air Act. It's not in the Inflation Reduction Act, which increased the EPA's what their authority was over, which they include greenhouse gases and Inflation Reduction Act. They're saying, no, we cannot just do EVs only. It's too devastating the economy, and we have other choices. There should be a variety of technology to meet the end goal. I think it's a smart thing. I think it's smart. I love it a lot. And I love to tell my EV advocate friends, you've been wrong for years. Telling me there's no EV mandate. SEMA's suing over the fact there's an EV mandate. So tell me that SEMA's wrong. Fine, go ahead. Now, the last video I want to talk about before we get to on what happened this week in the YouTube channel was I did a video. And we go full screen. If you listen to the podcast, it's me on the screen. I want to talk about you guys behind the scenes. So I'm sitting at my kid's school picking them up, and I have a black steering wheel on a Lexus NX. And I got in the vehicle and drove it over, and it was 103 when I hopped in, 97 when I'm sitting there in the sun, and the steering wheel is like burning hot. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is kind of weird. And it's a weird question. The weird thing I thought in my mind was like, why in today's age of EV vehicles and trucks that drive themselves and cars that drive themselves, why does my steering wheel have to be so damn hot? We know that the summers have been hotter lately. I'm not going to get in debate with whether you believe in climate change, whatever's happening. We just know that the last couple of summers have been hotter. Okay. So if the summers are getting hotter, what solutions will the automakers come up with to combat this? And I said, a cooled steering wheel would be nice. Heated steering wheel has been around for a long period of time. And if you've ever used one, you're like, holy cow, this thing's awesome. If you haven't used one, you're in the comments criticizing heated steering wheels. You're like, oh, nobody needs that crap. You just wear gloves. Well, you haven't used a heated steering wheel. You haven't done it yet. When you use it, you're like, wow, this is awesome. Cooled seats. We just got done using cooled seats the day before we had to go to Sydney to play golf. Cooled seats were amazing. Our backs were hot and sweaty, and they cooled off, and it was like a nice relaxing. It was like pouring a glass of water on your back. That's the same sensation it felt like. We didn't have water down our back. Heated seats are great, especially with leather seats. because cold leather, right? So I'm thinking, why not? There's a opportunity here for me in my mind to do something. Now, ventilated seats use a motor, they use a fan. I mean, there's a whole thing. So obviously, a cooled steering wheel using the same technology is not going to happen, right? But Ford had filed a patent. My friend James Hill from Man's Tripping, he saw my TikTok and or my YouTube short or my whatever the hell I'm doing, Instagram Reel, whatever you call those things these days. And he messaged me on Facebook and said, "You know what, Tim? You're right on. Ford put in a patent filed for a steering wheel preconditioning system." So let's talk about this. Preconditioning is becoming a thing with EVs and newer vehicles, right? So you can take your phone app, you can press a button in the vehicle, be preconditioned, it'll cool itself down or heat itself up, whatever you need to be, vice versa. Ford said, "Hey, how do we do this with a steering wheel? This is what we're going to do." So they said, and this works for a lot of EVs and things like that at this moment, but they could work in other vehicles, is that what they're planning here is, I'm going to show a picture on the screen. It's the patent of the steering wheel. What they're saying is they would use the ability to precondition the cabin. So you press the button, you're going to drive in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or, like every morning you leave work at 8 o'clock in the morning. The vehicle would start at 7:50, get everything ready to go. So by the time you get in, it's nice and warm or nice and cool, whatever aspect it needs to be. And the steering wheel, what they're going to do is the steering wheel will actually move. So the vents come on, start blowing cold air. Infrared camera inside the vehicle sees the hot spots, and it say the steering wheel needs to be turned 3 degrees to the left to get this one spot on it to cool down. The vehicle would turn the steering wheel and cool down that one spot. Now, that's interesting because they're using the existing HVAC system. They're not adding anything more to the system. There's nothing, not one more thing to break, Tim, because there's nothing new here. There's nothing new besides an infrared camera, which I'm sorry, come on. The infrared cameras don't break down. That, as far as I know, again, kill me in the comments, but they're using existing system to cool down the camera, the vehicle, and the steering wheel by preconditioning it so you're ready to go. So you don't burn your hands getting in a car in a hot summer day. Now, somebody in the TikTok or YouTube, whatever, had a really interesting comment. They said, "How about instead of just preconditioning the steering wheel, how about just not make every steering wheel in the world black? How about tan steering wheels? What happened to those? Why are there more options for that? Why do all luxury vehicles want this blacked out exterior, blacked out steering wheels, stuff like that? Why aren't there more options, and especially more leather changes or material changes on steering wheels that don't absorb so much heat?" That was kind of a fair comment. I actually like that one quite a bit. All right. So what else happened this week on Pickup Truck Talk? We had the YouTube channel. We had some things going on over there. Polaris 570 trail walk around dirt road driving. I need you guys to watch that video. Polaris is like really happy with me. They can send me a lot more stuff. So if you're a fan of that kind of content, I got more stuff coming. They got to send me this really cool like side-by-side XP, this XD side-by-side, another the 2025 model that Sportsman I'm going to get. Lots of cool stuff happening. Jill drove the Lexus UX, which you probably forgot about, and she forgot about, and I forgot about. Details there. GMC Yukon Denali Ultimate AT4 Ultimate went live. That was I was in Michigan doing a family trip and stopped by and did some video with those guys. Really interesting second row seats as far as even more luxury in these vehicles. The middle video was Ram midsize truck delayed. UAW is pissed. Sean Fain is freaking upset at Carlos Tavares, and we're having this ongoing feud, and it's kind of fun to sit back with a bag of popcorn and watch this stuff happening. And I'm going to keep covering UAW and what's happening with them because I think it's important. I think it's important to you as well, the consumer, to know what's happening to your vehicle, how much more you're paying for your vehicle, who's making profits off of it, and who's getting these freaking massive salary bumps that seem pretty unwarranted, in my opinion. I have the Toyota RAV4, which I screwed up. I called it turbocharged engine. It's not turbo. I've been taking the woodwork on the comments on that, but I just felt like it's slow. Like it just needs more. And so I was really disappointed in how that vehicle drove and how much power it had. And I did talk about it. People sometimes tell me, Tim, you don't criticize the automakers enough. No, I think I do. I think I call them out at times when I can. One more programming note on this, by the way, if you're still listening, I was working this week on trying to get an answer to the Toyota Tacoma bump stop issue. Apparently there's an issue with the bump stop built into the shock that Icon demonstrated in their video. I have information showing there's more than one bump stop in the Tacoma, by the way. I have a video of that. Plus, I'm working on engineering to get a full answer to what happened to Icon and what the design is. So I'm hoping above hope to get an answer for that. But there are bump stops on the Toyota Tacoma. They exist. And this whole thought process online lately, I've been seeing no bump stops in Tacoma. What are they thinking? No, actually, they have two bump stops in the Tacoma TRD Pro, and they actually probably over-engineered it as per Toyota. So I'm waiting to see, or it should be as typical Toyota has been in last generations over engineering stuff. So again, I'm waiting for information there. If I can get it to you guys, I will get it to you guys ASAP. All right, for more, check videos over here. Website down below is what? pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.